Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius. It is our third episode of the week, and it comes on a Thursday where we spoke to Tom Brady, to Chris Godwin, and a couple other players today in open locker room and up at the podium. It's pretty much the Bucs' last intense practice, I would say, until their game on Sunday Night Football against the Cowboys. They will be practicing tomorrow, but Friday's a little bit more of a glorified walkthrough, to say. But of course, all eyes will be on Chris Godwin. I am your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is JC Allen of PewterReport.com. JC, I just saw you recently, but how are things since I last saw you?
Maddie, it's football season, baby. It's tonight. I woke up it's like the little kid from Stuart Little. It's today. It's today. It's today. I'm excited for some football. Can't wait for the season kickoff. There's also Thor: Love and Thunder, so a little appetizer, if you will, came out today before football. So what's not to love about this glorious Thursday, other than the weather?
I thought that movie already came out.
It did, but it's on Disney Plus. I never got a
chance to see it. Okay, cool. Well, nice. There's a little excitement for you there if you want to check that out before watching the Bucs on Sunday night. Another thing that you should be checking out, of course, is Celsius Energy Drinks, which is the providing sponsor of the Pewter Report podcast. We love Celsius Energy for multiple different reasons. The flavor is fantastic. I got the sparkling orange, which I was crushing earlier today at practice. You got the strawberry kiwi guava, multiple different flavors. Of course, you got the vibes as well. The vibes are always high, whether it's the Arctic peach or tropical. Can't go wrong there. 7 essential vitamins in these drinks, and there's no crash. There's none of those jitters that you get with the typical energy drink. That's not the case with Celsius. So you got great flavor, and they're becoming more and more available to a store near you. So go on the store locator on the Celsius website and see where you can find them. Also, I would recommend buying them in bulk on Amazon because variety is the spice of life. So pick the variety pack. That's what I would recommend, and have it sent to your house or apartment every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is. Just make sure you're drinking Celsius energy drinks. Celsius, live fit. JC, as we look at the Bucs versus the Cowboys going into week 1, there's a lot of questions about the team, not just playing against the Cowboys, but the team moving forward this season. Obviously, each year, front offices are going to make moves. They're gonna bring in new players. Some players that have been here aren't going to be there anymore. So there's definitely a couple of questions for the Bucs going into this season. But I think number one, out of anything else, is kind of been the topic for the last couple of days: is will Chris Godwin be playing on Sunday Night Football? I think that's without question been the number one topic.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is a guy who suffered his torn ACL week 15 against the Saints on a contact injury hit. And we've seen how long and arduous these roads can be to recovery. We've also seen how quickly guys can come back. And Godwin, for all intents and purposes, is that guy who is on the road to being one of the quicker guys to come back from this gruesome injury. He's been practicing. A lot of people, myself included, thought he'd end up on PUP to start the training camp. Missed that list, and then lo and behold, a week and a half later, Matt, not even, he's out there practicing with a brace. And then just recently this week, he's practicing without the brace, still in a non-contact jersey. But I think all those are positive signs to see if he'll, be able to go starting week 1 and lace up the cleats and put the pads on to start the season for the Bucs. And he had some interesting things to say today when he met with the press during open locker room.
Yeah, he did. We'll get to that in just a little bit. But first, I do want to get to some of the chats that we've seen from the Pewter people watching the show. And we do appreciate everyone that is watching and or listening to us. Joe Grizz wants to know, my biggest question is, will the roof be open on Sunday night? I don't typically know what Dallas does with that. Now, it's one thing that really annoys me about Cowboy State. I've never been there, so I'm only basing this off of watching games on either prime time, well, not really prime time, but like that Fox afternoon game. It really bothers me the fact that they'll close the roof, but the sun will still go through the roof, and therefore you have half the field, there's sun on it, and I'm sure it gets in the players' eyes. It's very aggravating to actually watch. So I don't know the ratio of like how much they leave it open, how much they leave it closed. I imagine it's a night game, so they'll leave it closed because you're going to have the lights on anyway. But anyway, that's a little observation for you. We do have a super chat from Leo. My man, Leo, always giving us a super chat. We appreciate you. He said, I'm so excited for the Bucs to shut the media heads up for talking all that smack, especially Brady, I think he's saying about Tom Brady. Cowboys have a worse team than last year. That's something that we highlighted a lot on yesterday's show, which I would recommend going and watching if you haven't yet. Obviously, injuries with Chris Godwin and injuries to, Ryan Jensen forces Robert Hainsey to be in there. The Aaron Stinney injury whittled down the competition to Nick Leverett and Luke Gedicke, who, of course, is going to win that job. He did win that job, as Todd Bowles confirmed earlier this week. But the Cowboys have a lot of injuries, too. I mean, they're very depleted at wide receiver. They're obviously going with their backup tackle at left tackle. So I think injuries really, while it hurts both sides, I feel like the Bucs are a little better equipped to overcome said injuries than the Cowboys are, at least early in the season when you're still trying to figure everything out.
Yeah, I mean, the Bucs have done a good job of building that depth at almost every position. Even with guys on the practice squad as well. You look at some of the additions they made there. So right now, the Cowboys, the funny thing is the Cowboys knew they were going to be dealing with some of these issues, and the Bucs prepared themselves against them with the signing of a Julio Jones and a Russell Gage. Having those offensive linemen that they've developed in-house and putting extra resources and picks there with a Gedicke and a Hainsey last year and bringing a guy like Fred Johnson in this year. Mm-hmm. The Cowboys, not so much. They knew they were going to be out with Gallup. They knew Tyron Smith had injury problems, injury health issues that reoccur almost every year, and they didn't do much to protect against it. And now they find themselves with, without their number 2, and obviously James Washington's injury, who is penciled to be the number 3 guy. You can't predict that, but they knew there was a good chance to be without the number 2 wide receiver. Now they're without their left tackle. And they've got injuries up and down the squad right now, relying on their 4th and 5th wide receivers on the depth chart. So the Jason Light and this team did a heck of a job bringing in those guys and those pieces to say, hey, if we do suffer some injuries, we trust the guys we have. We have guys in-house that we've, groomed and brought in here that can step in and fill the void and keep the ball rolling. And the Cowboys, they are lacking that on their team.
Yeah, a huge credit goes out to Jason Light in the front office for being able to fill so many gaps of where there could potentially be issues. I mean, at some point, if there's so many injuries that are going on, there's only so many things that you can do to come. Yeah, exactly. Quarterback is the first thing that really came to mind there. Want to get to a couple more chats. And again, everyone, we want the show. Obviously, the headline was, the biggest questions facing the Bucs heading into week 1. If you got a question, please let us know. We want this one to be super interactive as much as we possibly can. So
Thursday.
Thursday. Let's have fun. Big MGM says, even if Godwin doesn't play, his progress is amazing thus far. I think that's a good segue into the video of Chris Godwin where he spoke today. He talked about, where he's at right now, both mentally and physically. Will he be playing on Sunday? Which I won't spoil his answer, but he gives a response to that. And he talked about a couple other things too. Just the fact that he's really pleased with his overall process of where he's getting to now. He had some other very kind words about the rest of his receiver room and running backs and tight ends. That's not in this video, but I'll talk about that after. Here is Chris Godwin, the man we've all been waiting to talk to, speaking with us and the rest of the media in the locker room today.
Thursday, where are you at right now? And I'm going for Sunday. Where's your head at? Where's your knee at?
That's a great question. Honestly, I think it's a very complicated process. Obviously, anytime you come off a major injury like this, you never really know how you're gonna feel. But I've been doing really well. Y'all see me going out there practicing. I've been doing a lot of stuff, and like each day is very different like from the day before. So I think ultimately like, what it comes down to is just one, how I'm feeling, and then two, the discussions that I have with Coach Bowles and the training staff. I think whenever the time comes for the game, I think everybody will know, but until then, I'm not sure.
Do you feel like it's a game time? Did you practice today?
No, not.
And then Coach talked yesterday about, until you get that first hit on that knee, and that's not something that you can simulate in practice. So have you thought, I mean, it's not something you want to think about, but have you thought about, I mean, that's a pretty common thing with guys with ACLs. You got to get hit once, and you never want to get hit, but like, have you kind of thought about what that'll feel like or prepared yourself for that moment?
I mean, honestly, I pretty much consider like most of those things. Like I said, it's a very like complicated injury. And one that guys are just recently starting to like come back from. Pretty regularly. But I think an interesting thing for me is like how my injury happened. It was a contact injury, so I'd imagine that there will be some kind of stuff like with that. But like you said, like you never know until you get hit. I would imagine that would be similar to how like a regular game would be for me. Like once you get hit, now you're in the game.
How much first season?
I mean, that's really the key, to be honest. It's I think it's just trying to be as smart as possible. Because obviously, like the competitor in me wants to go as soon as I can.
Right.
But just understanding like that I wasn't there for the end of the season last year. That stuff really gets to me. So it's about trying to be as smart as I can, trying to make the best decisions, not only for myself, but what I feel is going to help the team the most down the stretch.
I don't know what your expectations were.
Oh yeah, I've been very pleased. I think if anybody else going through this, arrived at camp the way I did, I think they'd be pleased. But I really think that's just a testament to the hard work that I put in, to the people that have been helping me, to my support staff. It's been a long process, but I'm just glad to really be out there with my guys, really getting to practice and just getting to do what I love to do.
Yeah, a lot of interesting information there from Chris Godwin. He said, it's a complicated process, and he said it's really twofold when it comes to whether or not he'll play on Sunday night. One is just overall how he's feeling, and two, he'll discuss it with Todd Bowles and the training staff. I think the third one, he didn't number this as number 3, but he did talk about it, was the fact that you're not really going to know how you feel until you actually get hit in that spot, his knee, where he was injured. That's something that Todd Bowles has really been hammering home a lot. And then Godwin was also asked about if it made it easier, this recovery process, because they brought in like Julio Jones and Russell Gage. And his response was, we have a loaded room of receivers that can go make plays at every level of the field. We got talented guys in the running back room and in the tight end room. We're not lacking in any way at the skill positions. So I think that really helps me in my process. It allows me to feel comfortable waiting until I feel really comfortable to go out there and play. So a lot of different factors and moving parts, but I think it goes back to what we were talking about, JC, just the depth of this team. It allows for, maybe a slower process to recover. And shout out Leo again with the super chat saying Gage is being disrespected by national media. Still, I don't know about disrespected. I don't think he's just as known as, like Julio. Everyone knows Julio, but Russell Gage hasn't really burst onto the scene just yet. But, there's still an opportunity there.
Right. And that's just it. Guys like Russell Gage, guys like Julio, even, to a lesser extent, Scotty and Darden and Brashad Perriman, those guys have allowed him not to, I got to get back. We got to get reps in. We got to, of course, that's been, you heard him. He missed it like hell. He wants to be out there, but he's going to take it slow. And, I feel like, and I've said it before, with Godwin's injury being a contact injury and not a open field type on a cut, it's going to must have helped his process because you're not worrying about your plant foot. You're not worrying about, if I make this cut, is this going to happen this way or anything like that? So, he's going to have to go out there and he's going to have to get hit. And that's the only way he's going to know that he's ready to take contact. But, we know that he's ready to go out there and make plays, as a receiver, because we've seen it. We've seen him in practice before it got shut down to us, but catch balls, take the top off the defense, take screens and turn it upfield, run through some minor contact on the upper body. But if he thinks he's ready, he's going to go. I don't know if that's week 1 or not. I'm still like up in the air, 50-50, whether he's going to play or not. And he said himself, he's a game time decision. We'll have to see. But if he can't go, exactly what he said, there's enough guys on this team that can step up and make plays and fill that role that gives him that time to come back when he really truly does feel ready.
Absolutely 100%. And I will give my answer to whether or not I think Chris Godwin will play in just a moment. But if you were to bet on whether or not Chris Godwin is going to play, the most opportunistic place to go and do that would be mybookie.ag. And let's remember, people, there is football tonight. Woo! Obviously, you got the Bucs and Cowboys on Sunday, but the season kicks off tonight, Thursday night, where the Bills travel to LA to take on the defending Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams. Hopefully the Bucs will be the team that is the defending Super Bowl champion next season. But as the Bills and Rams prepare to kick off the NFL regular season, now is the time to prepare for your winning season at MyBookie. Whether you're a veteran bettor or a first-timer, MyBookie gets you the most for your money with a double deposit bonus. It's quick and easy. A $250 deposit puts $500 in your account. Even if you learn from Plant City math, you can understand that. And you can use those funds to bet instantly on as many games, contests, and props as you want. To claim your bonus, register today and use the promo code Pewter. That's Pewter, and that's designed to add more excitement to the games and sports you love. Bet on team win totals, predict the Super Bowl winner. That's where you can bet on the Bucs. Or use the MyBookie prop builder and secure that bag. Your winning season begins today exclusively at MyBookie. And once again, that promo code is Pewter. So in all honesty, just my gut feeling, and it's something that Scott spoke about the other day, and I tend to agree with him because Scott's a very smart man, especially when it comes to coverage of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think ultimately Chris Godwin will play, but I wouldn't expect a ton from him. I think it would be a very strict snap count. I wouldn't be shocked if he's used kind of as a decoy at times. Again, we've seen all training camp long, he's been gradually put into this offense, going from warming up with the quarterbacks to 7-on-7s to entire team drills. So I think because we've seen that gradual, slow, but necessary process, we kind of see that within the first 1 or 2 games of the season where Godwin's going to go in, run some routes, get that hit that he was talking about, that Todd Bowles has mentioned as well, make himself more suitable to not have that, that mental part of, oh, well, until I get hit, I don't know. It's all right. You'll get whatever it is, 20 snaps or whatever it is. I'm not speculating that number, but I think we'll see a little bit of him, but not to the point where he's going to have a huge impact on the game besides just like the moral part of it of, all right, awesome. He's obviously healthy enough to start playing. Now he could really be a factor. And Godwin's talked about that too, where it's all about what he's doing in November, December, and January. Week 1 of the season doesn't matter if he's not playing at the end of the year. So that's just my overall take on the situation.
Yeah, I mean, I can see them definitely getting him some handful of plays out there. You want to, just to get that, maybe to get that hit and kind of get him back acclimated. But as you said, it's been a slow ramp up period. I think it just really kind of depends on the game plan as well. Like I don't think he'll go out there to start the game. And I think if they can get, Russell Gage going in that Chris Godwin slot role, then maybe it's like, okay, maybe we don't need to test him out. But someone pointed out in the chat, do you want to roll him out there for the first time against the Saints?
Right.
I don't know. So, I mean, I could definitely see him have, a very limited, I'm talking maybe 10, 15 snaps tops. If he is going to roll out and test that knee out. So I don't expect a Chris Godwin performance from him at all if he does play. But it's a tough decision, Matt, because even Godwin said, he'd rather be there for the second half of the year, than miss the first couple weeks if he needs to, and make sure he's 100% for the second. Having to watch football after he was taken out killed him. And, he wants to be back out there, but at what extent and what cost? So it's I'm still torn. It's 50-50. I think he'll dress. I don't know if he goes out there and sees some snaps though, but it's gonna be interesting.
Let's talk about some of the other questions. First of all, shout out Jeff. He says, I like the idea, Matt. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. We do want to get to more people's questions, but JC, what questions would you have for the Bucs heading into, week one? We can stick on the offensive side. You can pretty much go anywhere with this, but what are your concerns heading into week one?
I think the biggest concern for me, even more so than Godwin, because I think you have the depth, is the offensive line. Said interior offensive line. How are they going to do? How is Gedeke going to hold up? How is Hainsey going to hold up? Now, again, we've talked about this. The Cowboys defensive tackles aren't necessarily world beaters by any extent, but still, it's a full game. It's not a rep. It's not a series. It's not, 2 series. It's a full game that you're tasked to go out there. It counts. The mistakes you made need to be corrected if there are any quickly by the next play. You need to have a goldfish mind. Shout out Ted Lasso. And you need to just be able to move on and do your job and do it well. The last thing you need is Tom Brady getting killed out there in week one. And I think they've done a great job of getting all the guys on their team prepared. Brady's done a good job of getting in his offensive lineman's ear. And I talked to Julian Edelman last week, and he's, Brady is so good at protecting himself. He'll go out there and he'll Linda calls that Hainsey made and say, no, this guy's the Mike slide protection one way or the other to buy him that extra time. Shaq Mason, not worried about him. He knows Brady. They know each other. They've got that cohesion and chemistry. And obviously the bookend tackles, I think, are fine. But, if they do some stunts and some twists and different maneuvers to get Micah Parsons up the middle, and they can, give him that just enough room to get to Brady, that's where you start to worry. So offensive line needs to make sure that their play is up to par. They're protecting Brady at all costs, but they're also playing smart. We don't need penalties setting this team back either. I think that's the biggest thing that I'm not just for the game one, but for the season is how does that offensive line come together? How quickly does it come together? And what do they look like when they're faced with pressure, especially coming up the middle where Brady and every other quarterback doesn't like to get pressured.
Yeah, it's very well put. We spent a little bit of time talking about Luke Gedeke yesterday because I think he's probably overall the quote-unquote weakest link of the offensive line just because, obviously Hainsey's in a similar situation. He's never started a game in the NFL, but he at least has a year under his belt where for Gedeke, it's just, all right, you're out there, buddy. Like, have a good time. You're the new starter for the Bucs. But his struggle going into it was dealing with the overall speed, which I was talking about yesterday, I felt was a little surprising for the fact that he's going to be quick on his feet from the fact that he was a tight end, the fact that he went from tight end to tackle, and tackle is usually a more mobile position. He's just dealing with those speedy edge rushers. And so you're getting a quicker guy, but playing offensive guard, but it just hasn't necessarily been the case. And yeah, I agree with you. If I'm the Cowboys, I'm straight up just like sending Micah Parsons up the middle as much as possible. I mean, we're talking about a guy. I mean, the Bucs got lucky last year when you really think about it, because yeah, they played the Cowboys week one, but Micah Parsons wasn't like the Micah Parsons that he ended up being by the end of the season. So now you're dealing with the guy that is one of the best pass rushers in the league. And, he's getting comparisons to LT. And obviously I don't think that's a good one yet. He's only a second-year player. But I understand what people are talking about where, like, he moves around. He does so many different things. So why not get the best advantage that you can possibly get, which would be attacking the interior offensive line of the Bucs. Meanwhile, the Bucs defensively are going to be attacking the outside of the Cowboys offensive line because you have one guy who, again, is the backup that's playing there because their main starter got injured. And on the other side, with Steele, he's going into his second year. It was an undrafted free agent. That's not taking anything away from him. I mean, like, shout out to him for, working his way to become a starter. But he played two different positions last year. He's more comfortable on the right side. But it's very funny that the Cowboys are going to be attacking the Bucs interior offensive line, while the Bucs will be attacking the tackles of the Cowboys. It's a little game of chess there.
Right. And one thing about, the Cowboys, if they do try to attack the, outside in those tackles in that matchup, they're going to have their hands full, because guess who's back at practice as a full participant today? Tristan Wirfs. Injury report came out. He was a full participant. So he's ready to go, just like we always thought he would be. But that just says that, that oblique is nothing to worry about. And he's going to be able to handle those guys coming up from the outside. But Matt, it is a little bit of that game of chess back and forth, and it's going to be that way too with the wide receivers. Even though the Cowboys are down, most of their, but CeeDee Lamb is one of the best wide receivers, and Carlton Davis is going to have his hands full trying to cover him if he spies him the entire game. We'll see with that. But the Bucs have a challenge ahead of them too with those wide receivers, and we kind of talked to them. Mike Evans and Julio Jones, and talked about them, and they said, listen, these guys they get their hands on the ball, they can create turnovers. We know that they've really improved from year 1 to year 2, and at the end of the day, we just have to play our game, and we have an advantage where they have to cover us, so we're not covering them. So that's going to be another chess match too. And it's there. I think there's some of those all over the field, and much has been made about Julio Jones missing that time with Brady, having veteran days off, and Brady having the 11 day. How quickly are they going to be in sync when they're out there? And I think they'll be fine for the most part, but I would not. You could definitely see some of those plays where he's in the wrong spot and Brady gets aggravated and starts dropping F-bombs on the field. So,
yeah, that's something that Julio was actually asked about today, and he downplayed. He said it wouldn't be an issue at all. And he really highlighted the fact that, we see them on the field, and if Brady's not there or Julio gets a vet day, which he did yesterday, he did return to practice today on Thursday. But you don't see them like inside the halls of the Bucs facility unless we're in the locker room. Like, you don't see the amount of work that they put in behind the scenes. So that was something that Julio really highlighted. And of course, we spoke to Tom Brady today. There was a bunch of different things that he spoke about and got into. But we do have a video clip here of Brady talking about Julio Jones, and then also what he's seen from the Cowboys as he faces them week 1. Because there was that very funny comment. You'll hear a little laughing from our friend Jenna Lane from ESPN, because there was a question asked about Micah Parsons had this comment of like why he loves and respects Tom Brady so much is because the competitor that he is, like, he wants to stomp you like a bug. Like, he wants to squish you like an insect. And so Tom was asked about that. So here's Tom talking about Julio, the Cowboys, and that comment made by Micah Parsons.
For the group. Yeah, he's obviously he's a great player, but I think he's a great teammate too. You just sense that he's here for all the right reasons, and just been really fun to get to know. Obviously, I've watched him for a long time. Obviously, admired his ability to play at a high level, and I've been on the other sideline watching him, be a dynamic player. So just been always enjoyable to get to know different guys, and he's one of the great players in the league. So to add him to that receiver room of Chris, Mike, and Russ and BP and Scotty, there's a lot of good experience in there. A lot of good football players, a lot of great teammates.
Your years of quotes where guys have admired you, what you thought of that analysis from Micah.
Oh man, that's interesting. Yeah, I just try to go win. So at the end of the day, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to hurt anyone, just trying to go out there and do my job as best I can. But I'm going out there with a lot of good players. That's the best part for me as a competitor. And going to compete is going with a group of teammates you really believe in. So it's not one player they're dealing with all of us. And the more we can communicate, the more we can be on the same page, the more we can play together as a team, I think the tougher we are to beat.
I understand you've been provided.
Brady, I actually asked Tom Brady as well about how Chris Godwin has looked practicing with him, and he said he's done a great job. It's a significant injury that he's faced. It was a big hurdle for him to overcome. That rehab is really tough. someone who's been through a torn ACL and a contact ACL. That's a very difficult injury, but he took it head on and he's done a great job. Chris is a guy, talk about having an advantage of your opportunity. Chris has done that. Or taking advantage of your opportunity. Chris has done that. He's a great professional. He's a great leader, always here to bring positive energy to what he's doing. He's very talented. Outside of his skill set, I think his attitude is what makes him such a great player and a great teammate. So a lot of kind words from Tom Brady about Chris Godwin and Julio Jones. And it's always fun when Tom's up there. You never know what you're going to get. Like, sometimes he'll just give the ultimate filibuster. You know, this player's great, that player's great, our whole team's great. Names all the starters. Sometimes he'll like play along and like answer some like, you know, not as serious questions, I guess is one way to put it. But I thought Tom was, not that he's here to entertain us, like we want to get information out of him, which I think we did with the Julio and Chris Godwin stuff and other things that he talked about today. But it was a little bit of a different Tom Brady than we saw in his last two press conferences, which were months ago, right before the Dolphins tampering. And then, of course, he did the post game after the Colts, where he said he's got a lot of stuff going on. So this was a different Brady.
More jovial today, you know. He's more, you know, kind of in the. I think he's just amped up for the season to start. You know, it's he made the decision to return. Whatever's going on in his personal life is his personal life, but the season's here now. So now the focus is dialed in, and you know, we had him laughing a few times in some of those questions. So, but again, he gave solid answers on a variety of things. You know, talking about, you know, Godwin and Julio and Rashad White and where those guys are. So Tom's dialed in. Like, there's no anyone who thought that those 11 days were going to make any difference to this Bucs team or where Tom would be at mentally. And Jenna points it out so well in our ESPN hit. His ability to compartmentalize is just out of this world. You know, between his father hospitalized with COVID, his mother hospitalized with cancer, anything that's going on at home right now or personal life, when it comes to time to lace up, you know, the cleats and throw the helmet on, Tom Brady is going to do the damn thing on the field, and he's not going to let any of that stuff distract him or get in his way. And he's going to be able to focus and give a great performance that he's capable of doing. So, I mean, no worries on Tom Brady's end at all for this season. I think he's going to be just fine, and I would not be surprised to see him as a league leader in yards and touchdowns again this year.
Yeah, that's very true. I don't know about yards because I think the Bucs are going to run the ball a little bit more, and I think because of all the talent that they have at wide receiver, you know, teams are going to play too high safety, don't want to allow like the deep ball, and as vertical as the Bucs want to go, I think they might have to settle for a couple of things underneath. It doesn't mean that they won't have success on the offensive side of the ball. I just think if they're running it more, that's obviously going to take away from Brady's, passing yards overall. But yeah, I do think, you know, he could very much will be in the running for MVP, could lead the league in touchdowns again because, you know, he's just a dynamo when it comes to playing in the red zone. And you mentioned, like, you know, not having to worry about how Brady's going to be, like, focus-wise this season. Another thing you really wouldn't have to worry about is managing your money if you're working with Muni Financial.
Oh. At Muni Financial, we help you live in the now.
Dude, congratulations. We're so happy for you. Thank you.
And even though the now may feel very different, you still need to plan for the future.
How's retirement treating you?
Oh, just fantastic.
I know I say it all the time, but you really got to come up to Colorado.
Let's do it.
All right.
Yeah.
We can help you develop that plan to keep you on track so you can still prepare for tomorrow, today. Muni Financial. Plan ahead, stay ahead.
Guys, you know where we got to go. We got to get to Colorado. When you're managing your family's wealth, go to Muni Financial because it's simply more than allocating your assets. Pewter Report trusts Muni Financial with our investments and retirement funds, and you should trust them too. Call 1-800-868-6864 and talk to David or Mark. They're awesome people over there because they'll tell you all about the different kinds of services that they have and provide. There's legacy planning, brokerage, and advisory services, retirement accounts, college savings accounts, and much more. Once again, the number is 1-800-868-6864. Get started with Immuni Financial today. JC, we talked a lot about the offense, so I do want to switch over a little bit to the defensive side of the ball. I did see one chat in here. Someone was asking if Russell Gage was running at full speed. Yeah, he's been practicing for a while now. He's good to go, so no worries there with Russell Gage, who again will probably have an even larger role, a bigger role in Game 1 because of the status of Chris Godwin. But let's focus on the defensive side of the ball. I think there are less questions when it comes to them because you have all the starters locked in place. Not as much injury worries, except for, like Keanu Neal. He's going to be ready for the first game of the season, but he was a guy that got injured a little bit early on. I think, and feel free to agree or disagree with me, but I guess when it comes to questions on the defensive side of the ball, it really comes down to just depth at the cornerback position. It's something that we spoke about before, but I truly believe this is going to be a top 5 defense for the Bucs this season. And I'm not saying cornerback is going to be the one thing that holds them back, but that would be my biggest concern / question for the Bucs. And that's, outside of Carlton Davis, what are you going to get from the rest of the group?
Yeah, I agree 100%. Top 5 defense, if not top 3 defense in the league. If you read my bold predictions, I think this team is not only going to eclipse 50 sacks, something they've only done once in their storied franchise, but I think they're going to lead the league in sacks. I just think this team has the type of talent that can get after the quarterback from every single level. As far as cornerback position, I agree to an extent. I think that depth is only a problem if injuries start to set in like they did last year. I'm very, very comfortable with Carlton Davis and Jamel Dean out there. I think Carlton Davis has been one of the better coverage guys in the league. Been able to lock down. You've heard me list off the names, including one of them who's on the team now, in Julio Jones, who he's locked down in the past. And I think he's got that ability to do that against, some of the best corner. The thing with him is turnovers. And we heard him talk this offseason about wanting to play more offensively on defense. And, he had some nice moves in camp to get some interceptions. And Jamel Dean as well. He's another guy who is going to be able to, one of the best cornerbacks in the league last year, the best cornerback per PFF in press man coverage. And we'll see if that's the type of style they're going to play. I mean, Todd Bowles has often said, you've got to kind of evolve your defense every couple of years. And we're kind of seeing that this year with the athleticism on the defensive line, the, flexibility they have with the safeties, and being able to drop a guy like Antoine Winfield as your slot guy and have just a versatile group of rotations in there with Keanu Neal and Logan Ryan. So I think the secondary is going to really shock some people. I think, between the cornerbacks and the safeties, we're going to look into this like, wow, that secondary was kind of a weakness, but I think they can turn into one of the strengths of this unit as well. And part of that's going to be because of the front seven, getting so much pressure and, quarterbacks having to get rid of the ball quicker and making quicker throws and not letting routes develop. And Jamel Dean, who Todd Bowles said, he's gotten better and Casey Rogers better at understanding the defense from a smarts perspective and knowing when he can take those chances and those risks. Same thing with Carlton Davis. He's been one of those guys. He just leads the league in pass deflection since 2019. He just needs to catch the damn ball. So, with the additions in the front seven and the speed and versatility they have now with Hall, with Akeem Hicks, and with JTS as a full-time starter, I think there's opportunities for them to really become a strength of this unit. By not only their coverage skills, but their ability to attack the ball, make turnovers, and at least, kill drives with pass deflections and the like, plus blitzing too.
Yeah, going to Dean, I'm not really worried about him. I like him as a corner. He's fast. I think he plays tight coverage. You just threw out that stat a couple of minutes ago, or a couple seconds ago, I guess I should say, about like how good he's been in that press man coverage. So I never really thought it was a competition. The coaches obviously did, and they know a lot more than I do, but I didn't really see it as a competition between Jamel Dean and Sean Murphy Bunting. It was just whether or not Jamel Dean would hold up his end of the bargain, which he absolutely did. We got a
And one
question
thing-
here. Yeah, go ahead.
You said just on Dean. One thing about Dean too is what we didn't see last year that we saw in previous years is the double moves. He used to get faked out by those double moves all the time, and we saw him kind of. And that goes another thing with the progression and knowing the defense and just having that ability to get that information down. We haven't seen that really last year, so that's been a big improvement of his as well, and one that I think was detrimental to his game and him lasting on here in Tampa.
Want to get to one question from Jacko about Logan Hall. But first, I do want to remind everyone about what's coming up this weekend. Of course, we are going to have the Pewter Report tailgate show that will be live at Walk-Ons over in Wesley Chapel. It'll be 2 hours prior to kickoff, which will be about 6 o'clock, 6:20. It will be JC Allen and Scott Reynolds as well, going live with the show. And then myself and Josh Capo will also be on about half an hour before the game starts, which will be a lot of fun. Josh Capo is our salary cap guru, does a lot of great video breakdown. He had one of Akeem Hicks that came out over Labor Day weekend. Awesome. I would highly, highly recommend watching that tape. I mean, we've only seen so much of Akeem Hicks in preseason games because he only played, in that one against the Colts. But he points out the different moves that he had, what he did great, what he's going to do with helping this defense. So make sure you go and you check that out. It's the Celsius Pewter Report tailgate show presented by Age Rejuvenation and live from Walk-Ons. And of course, as I mentioned, the Pewter Game Day show, the Celsius Pewter Game Day show going on. Myself and Casey Hudson, we will be reacting to everything happening in the Bucs Cowboys game, whether it's good, bad, ugly, beautiful, gorgeous, whatever is going on. Myself and Casey will be dissecting it. And like I said, I'm going to give you my energy. I'm going to give it my all. I went pretty wild in the Colts game, and especially that Jets game. Plan on bringing the same exact energy for the live in-game stream, the Pewter Game Day. So make sure you check all of that out. That's going to be on Sunday. So a ton of content that you could see from Pewter Report and, of course, our Pewter Report TV YouTube channel. Please make sure that you like and subscribe so we can get all of that content out to you right there.
All right. If you guys are in the Wesley Chapel area, definitely swing by Walk-Ons. We're going to be doing giveaways, drink specials. The food is on fire over there. It's so good. Me and Matty ate their lunch the other day.
We did.
And I actually had it the other day. So plus you're supporting Devin White. So why not? It's a great place to go chill, watch the game, and have some beers. So see you guys there.
Yeah. And John Gilmore, I should have mentioned, will also be part of the Pewter Tailgate show, former Buccaneers tight end. So very excited to have John Gilmore with Scott and JC for the first game. And John Gilmore will be on all of the shows, whether it's at Wesley Chapel or the Walk-Ons in Midtown. So very excited about that as well. Let's get to the question from Jacko. It was about Logan Hall. Have to find it here. Yeah, he said, what do you all think about Logan Hall? I think Logan Hall quietly has had a pretty good preseason. I think it's been overshadowed by a lot of different things, most notably Vita and Akeem Hicks, what they've been doing. I think the defensive unit as a whole, running more stunts and twists and everything like that. And we saw it in the preseason games, guys like Pat O'Connor, friend of the program, getting sacks, a couple other players really getting into the mix. But Logan Hall, the best thing that could happen to him is having an under-the-radar type of training camp and preseason, because he's not going to be asked to be the savior of the defensive line. They didn't really need one in the first place because they have a ton of talent anyway. But I like the fact that he can go in there, help this team out. He's going to play. He's going to get snaps. He's just not going to be the starter. That's going to be Akeem Hicks' role. But we don't know how long Akeem Hicks is going to be here. We know that Logan Hall, no pun intended, is going to be here for the long haul. So I'm telling you, that was not on purpose.
But that's a Matty move right there. I knew it was coming.
I don't know. But speaking of Matthews, we got another super chat from Matthew, thank you so much. He says, our pass rush in the witness was, I think he's trying to say, our pass rush was in the witness protection program last year. And without it, our DBs don't have a chance talent-wise. Too long versus the QBs we play 22-23. Well, I think a couple of things are going to change there, Matthew. One, you talk about the pass rush. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka is the full-time starter at outside linebacker. So I think we're going to see a lot more quickness to the ball from the outside, and maybe not the number one priority, but a main focus of the Bucs coaching staff and front office this offseason was getting quicker on the interior defensive line, specifically with the pass rush. That's exactly what they did with Akeem Hicks. That's exactly what they did with Logan Hall. It's kind of like what I was just talking about with the stunts and twists and everything. That's another element that they did not use last year that they will be implementing this season. And of course, I think a healthier Lavonte David blitzing. I think Devin White getting back to the 2020 version of Devin White, or just an overall better linebacker, is going to help everything else out. So I'm not worried about the pass rush, and obviously neither are you, JC, with your bold statement of getting over 50 sacks, which I do agree with you on that.
Yeah, I think we mentioned Logan Hall. I mean, that's a perfect guy. Talking to Akeem Hicks, talking to Will Golston, they mentioned that ability, on their own. Like, he's going to bring that pass rush. He's going to be able to, that quick twitch movements he can do, the stunts that you just mentioned, that's going to be Logan Hall being able to do that. And they can get really creative out there, especially with the depth they have at outside linebacker, where they potentially you could see Logan Hall and JTS in there at the same time as down lineman, and being able to do some really unique athletic things. There's just so much versatility that Bulls can utilize with this team. And I think that, the pass rush is going to be there in a multitude of variety of ways. First of all, the outside linebackers, I think Shaq moving back to that right side predominantly, where he has been really successful, is going to help him tremendously. I have him hovering at 15 sacks this year. I think he's going to get back. He had 10 last year and missed 3 games. So 15, I don't think, is out of the realm of possibility. That is more natural position that he enjoys playing better. They'll move him around. He's not going to be there just, the entire time, but I think that's going to help him as well. And JTS, I think JTS is in line for double-digit sacks as well. I think 10 sacks is not out of the realm of possibility. I know Carmen Vitale just went on, former Bucs writer for the Bucs. She went on Kay Adams' new show and said the same thing. And a lot of us here have talked about JTS being able to get those 10 sacks. Then you're looking at contributions from elsewhere. Akeem Hicks, maybe 6, Vita Vea, another 5, Will Golston 4. These are going to start adding up like crazy, because the pass rush is going to be the addition of Vita Vea and Akeem Hicks next to Vita Vea. And I talked to Vita about this today, is no longer is Vita Vea the only one taking double teams, guys. He's not the only one. And, to Sue, he did take some double teams as well. But when you have Akeem Hicks, you're able to pass one double team off to the other guy. And both of those guys have athleticism. Vita Vea was a running back in high school. They both have the speed and athleticism to use that to get to the quarterback. So when you're taking on that double team, 3 blockers is like minimum for Akeem Hicks and Vita Vea. They're taking up 3 blockers every time they're out there on the field together. When you're able to pass that double team off and get to the quarterback, and you got to remember now with 3 blockers on 2 guys, that opens up things for everybody else. I think Lavonte David gets more sacks, and we saw that in the preseason game. I think Devin White reaches closer to that 9 number he had in 2020. Closer to 7-ish sacks. And then we're not even counting on cornerback blitzes and safety blitzes. Logan Ryan's been a heck of a blitzer his entire career. Antoine Winfield playing out of that nickel spot. It's got the speed, the strength to get in there. And the pass rush, as you said, witness protection, they're out. They've done their time. They're coming out, and they're coming straight for the Gottis and straight for the Sopranos. And they're not playing around. They're going to get after them, and they're going to crush some people this season, in my opinion.
I like this comment here from Matthew Sams for multiple reasons. 1, his name is Matthew, so I like that. 2, I agree with his statement. Hicks and Vea are scary. I agree with that. And 3, and this is last but certainly not least, you could really number them in any order. He's got a picture of a dog as his graphic, which is awesome for multiple reasons. One of them being, it reminds me of Underdog Fantasy, which of course today is the last day to get in on Best Ball Mania 3. Get it done before the Rams and Bills kick off today, later tonight. I think, what time does that game start? Around 8:20, I think.
8:20, yeah.
So still time to get your Underdog Fantasy team right then and there. $2 million goes to the first prize, but like it shows here, $10 million overall in prizes. It's a great way to get involved. You just pick your team, set it and forget it. Don't need to worry about the bye week or anything else. You just go and pick your team and then see if you win. But then, of course, once Best Ball Mania 3 is done, there is also the pick'ems all season long, which is so much fun. It's the easiest way to get some action on the NFL. That's with Underdog Fantasy and their pick'em game. Just pick an over-under on your favorite or least favorite player stats, and you can win up to 20 times your money in a single night. Underdog keeps it super simple with their easy-to-use website and mobile apps. Pick between 2 and 5 players to fill out your pick'em slip. Get every pick right and take home some cold, hard cash. Use the promo code Pewter. Get your first deposit matched up to $100 by Underdog. Again, if you learn from Plant City Math, and shout out to Zach Blobner, him and his wife just bought a house over in Plant City. But even if you learn from Plant City Math, Zach's an awesome guy. His wife is awesome too. Get your first deposit matched up to $100 by Underdog Fantasy. Promo code Pewter. JC, I think the last thing we really have to talk about as we start to wrap things up here is the special teams. Outside of Ryan Suckup, there's a lot of other question marks. Most notably, or most damning, I guess you could say, would be just the overall coverage, specifically in punt return. But that really concerns me going into this season.
Yeah, I think, with Rachaad White named as the team's kick returner, I liked what I saw out of him. I know, Scott doesn't like running backs as returners, but I liked what I saw out of him. And when we talked to Bulls the other day, he had some good things to say about him. Jalen Darden, if you guys read my bold prediction, I think he brings one to the house this year as a punt returner. So I'm not worried. I think he puts it together. But coverage, Matt, you are so right. What I saw in that Indianapolis game and that Titans game was atrocious. I know they're rotating a lot of guys in and out, trying to get different looks, and that's what we saw there is not going to be what the teams is going to look like. But these guys got to show up. And I think that's part of the reason why you saw some of these signings, a guy like Kenny Young, a guy like Jannard Avery, who's played some special teams, those linebacker types, which you have on punt coverage because you need them to run, right? You're not putting Vita on punt coverage. So I think that's why you saw some of these guys get signed and in case the guys they have on the roster falter. But 03 needs to show up. Kenny Britt needs to show up. The Gunners, whoever they are, if they're going to be Scotty, if they're going to be Dean, if they're going to be Delaney, like they have to make tackles on the first hit, and they have to get down there in time to either force a fair catch or at the very least, you can't be giving up 7, 8, 9 yards or a return, and certainly no big ones. You got to be able to wrap up, tackle, and get them down quick because, man, it did not look good in the preseason. It does not look good last year. It did not look good the year before. The Bucs special teams coverage units have, ran in last place or close to last place the last 3 years. And Keith Armstrong needs to get his group in shape because you can lose on special teams. We've seen it. Field position's everything.
That could be what it comes down to, is flipping that field position with either great or subpar special teams work. And we've seen that kind of hurt the Bucs previously, not to the point. I mean, it's hurt them. Obviously, they were still able to win the Super Bowl in 2020 and have a great season last year. But sooner rather than later, it's really going to hurt them with the lack of production on special teams. There's been some reports from Cowboys reporters and writers about Dak Prescott. I will read that in just a moment. But first, I do want to tell you guys about Pin Chasers, the best place to go bowling. There are so many different locations, as you see on the screen here: East Pasco, Zephyr Hills, Midtown, and Veterans. There's one pretty close to the Advent Health Training Center where the Bucs have their practices. There's a different deal for everyone. If you go to pinchasers.net, you could see all the deals they have pretty much on a daily basis, from all you could eat pizza to all you can bowl and dollar beers. Great deals. Brunch on the weekends. The food is underrated. I'm talking about the pizza, nachos, chicken tenders, you name it. It's all great food. It's a great night out with friends and family. You could also book your kid's birthday party there. They have the arcade room so the kids can bowl and play video games all in one birthday party. It's a great night out with friends and family. And I know we're in September, but if you want to book your office, work, whatever it may be, if you want to book your holiday party, I would recommend doing that sooner rather than later because the Christmas parties do start filling up pretty quickly. So I know it's a couple months from now, but start getting on that sooner rather than later. And Pin Chasers would be a great place to have your office holiday party. So again, go to pinchasers.net, see what deal that they have out there for you, because there is one that you are going to like. That's pinchasers.net. So the news coming out of the Cowboys and with Dak Prescott, David Moore tweeted, Dak Prescott swears he will play Sunday, but he was forced to leave Thursday's practice and will show up as limited on the injury report with an ankle. The QB said it was an issue with the new cleats he wore. Backup quarterback Cooper Rush got the reps with the starters. Clarence Hill Jr. pretty much saying the same thing, said Dak Prescott left today because he had an issue with his surgically repaired ankle caused by the Jordan 11s he was wearing in practice. Prescott said he is fine and won't be limited on Sunday. So, I don't know. Take that for what you will. Sometimes you want to look good. Well, Deion Sanders always said, look good, feel good, play good. So, Dak trying to thread the needle there.
Yeah, he's blaming it on the Jordan 11s. Come on, guy. What are you doing here? Speaking of Jordans, Devin White, guys, his Jordan collection in his locker room is outstanding. They fall out to the floor, so it's great. But I think Dak will be fine. He'll be there. I'm not worried about that. What I am, if I'm a Cowboys fan, what I am worried about is CD getting open and these other guys getting open enough, not for him to get destroyed behind that makeshift offensive line with the Bucs front seven coming after him. But I don't think this is anything to cause pause for and be alarmed about that Dak isn't going to play. If he doesn't play, Cooper Rush, bring it on, But
right.
I don't think that's an issue.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that obviously Bucs fans want to see the Bucs win no matter what,
no.
but it would kind of put a damper on like what should be an exciting game, Brady and the Bucs, Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. Fun game last season. I think it'll be a little bit of a different game this year. JC, do you want to give? Actually, I was going to say give your predictions, but we do have the Pewter Report predictions and preview coming out, or preview and prediction that's coming out tomorrow on Friday. Just reminder for everyone, we got the Pewter Report tailgate show, the Celsius Pewter Report tailgate show, presented by Age Rejuvenation, live at Walk-Ons. It's 2 hours before kickoff, so around 6:20. Start watching at 6:20 on our YouTube channel. And then once that's done, we're still going to be on our YouTube channel, Pewter Report TV, with the Pewter Game Day show presented by Celsius. Myself and Casey Hudson will be watching the game live, giving our analysis, reacting to everything that goes on in the game. And then when the game is finished, you can also tune in on Pewter Report TV for the Pewter Post-Game show of the Pewter Report podcast on Sunday night, probably early Monday morning, but we will still be putting out a show for you because we love the Pewter people. So still a lot of fun stuff going on. Football starts tonight. Very excited for that. You got college football again on Saturday. Some good games going on there. And then the NFL, full slate of games on Sunday, ending with, at least on Sunday, with the Bucs and Cowboys on Sunday night. I'm very excited for all this. It's going to be great.
And even Monday, Russ's return. So, I mean, like football all the way through. I'm not going to give a prediction, but I will give my DFS guy, if you got to target one guy for the Bucs for daily fantasy, whether you're playing underdog, whether you're playing whatever you're playing, I think Russell Gage is going to have a game. I don't know how much Chris Godwin's going to be out there to eat into those snaps, but I think Russell Gage, if you're going to start Russell Gage in fantasy and daily fantasy, anything, I will say Russell Gage is a guy that I'm looking at to put up some serious numbers and points this week. But That's
Good
just
choice. I've picked him on a couple different teams and things like that. So very excited for Russell Gage. Very excited for the Bucs game on Sunday night. Remember, we got the Pewter Tailgate show, we got the live in-game stream, and we got the post-game podcast as well. So stay tuned for all of that. For JC Allen, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks everyone for watching and listening, and we will see you on Sunday for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.